Hi everyone, this is Muhammad Kubaib. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will discuss about how to onboard Azure Virtual Desktop Session Host or Citrix VDIs to Microsoft Defender. If you find this video useful, please subscribe and hit the bell icon for the future updates. If you want to learn more about Azure or Citrix Virtual Desktop, you can check out my Udemy bestseller course. The link for the course has been given in the video description. So Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, it is an enterprise endpoint security platform designed to help enterprise network to prevent, detect and investigate and respond to advanced threats. So it is nothing but a next generation security platform, so which will help us to secure our infrastructure. Defender for Endpoint, it has multiple capabilities. The first one is vulnerability management, and second one is attack surface reduction, and then we have a next generation protection, and then we have a EDR, which is endpoint detection and response, and then we have automated investigation and remediation, then threat experts. So these are the things it will help you to secure our endpoints. So these are the high level capabilities of Microsoft Defender which will help us to secure our endpoints. In this video, we are mainly focusing on how to onboard AVD or Citrix DAAS VMs to Microsoft Defender and how to use Defender to identify the vulnerabilities and to secure the infrastructure. To understand the vulnerability management, first we need to know what is vulnerability and what is exploit. So vulnerability, it is a weak point or a channel that hacker could use to find a way into your website, operating system, applications, network or other IT related systems. So basically it is a weakness or a weak point in your organization, which may be in your system, application, operating system, network layer or security layer. So that will help the hacker to get into your system, which is called as vulnerability. And the second one is exploit. It is a specific code or attack technique that uses a vulnerability to carry out an attack or gain unauthorized access. So the meaning of exploit is nothing but it is a technique or a method to use the vulnerability which was identified over here to get into your system. In a layman language, for example, a burglar will look into an unlocked window and then wait until you are away to enter it without your permission. So here the unlocked window, it is a vulnerability. So it means it is a weakness in your house. So the hacker or the burglar, he will wait to you to go away. So that is an exploit method so that he can enter to your house without any permission. So this is how the vulnerability and exploit will be used by the hacker to get into your system or your infrastructure. So some of the examples for the vulnerabilities are outdated or legacy software or system that haven't updated yet could be the target for the hacker. So if you have an unpatched systems, so that may be a target for the hacker to get into your system or infrastructure. And the second one is the vulnerability may get created when a user creates a weak password or reuses a password that gets compromised in a breach. And the third one is the vulnerability can also be created by a cyber attack such as phishing email with a link that tricks or manipulates you into a downloading of files containing malicious software or code. So when you run this malicious software or code, the hacker might get access to your system. So it will lead to the cyber attacks. So these are the some of the examples how the vulnerabilities are gets created in your infrastructure. Let's see the life cycle of a vulnerability. So organization develop a system, software or a site. So if you have a company, you may create a site or install a software for your internal purpose, and then the vulnerability discovered. So the researcher might have discovered some vulnerability in some particular softwares, etc. Then the vulnerability disclosed. So public will get to know about the vulnerability, and then the manufacturer will work on to fix the vulnerability. So vendor will work on to fix the vulnerability, and then vendor will deploy the patch or update to the system. So vendor will release the patch to update or fix the vulnerabilities, and then in your company you may patch or install those particular patch to fix the vulnerabilities on the devices. So in the life cycle of an vulnerability, so from discovering the vulnerability till manufacture releases the fix for that particular vulnerability, so this is the critical phase on which so attacker might exploit your system, because you don't have any patch, to protect these vulnerabilities. So these are the critical phases in which attacker may find an opportunity to exploit it. So let's see some of the terminologies when it comes to the vulnerabilities. So the first one is zero-day vulnerabilities. So zero-day vulnerabilities are unknown security flaws or bugs in software, firmware, or hardware which vendor does not know about or does not have an official patch or update to address the vulnerability. So it means you are using a software from a vendor. So that software might have an vulnerability, but no one knows about that vulnerability, or vendor does not have a patch to fix that vulnerability. So such vulnerability we are referring it as zero day. So in case of zero day vulnerabilities, the vendors or the user are not aware of the existing of a vulnerability unless reported by a researcher or discovered as a result of attack. So the vulnerabilities are known for the public for zero day. That is the reason we are referring it as a zero day vulnerabilities. So then we have zero day attacks. So when the bad actors or an hacker able to successfully develop or deploy malware that exploits a zero day vulnerability, then that malware becomes a zero day attack. It means, let's say if you have a zero day vulnerabilities in your system or in your applications, and attackers will use some kind of malware to exploit a zero day vulnerability, and then they will get into your system. So such attacks are called as zero day attacks. So then we have a zero day exploit. So zero day exploit is nothing but a technique or a method the hacker will use to attack the system that have the vulnerabilities. These are the three terminologies we should know when we work with the vulnerability management. In this chapter, we will see how to configure onboarding of Azure Virtual Desktop or Citrix DAAS virtual machines to Microsoft Defender. So, to do the onboarding, first we need to go to the Microsoft Defender portal, and under Defender portal, we need to go to settings. Under setting, we need to choose endpoints. So, in endpoints, we will see an option called device management. So we need to select onboarding under device management. So here we have an option to select our operating system. So typically virtual desktops having Windows 10 and Windows 11, so we need to select. And then under onboarding device, there are multiple way to onboard the device. So one way is to use group policy, and another one is SCCM, then MDM or Microsoft Intune. And also we can use VDI onboarding script for non-persistent devices. So we need to select a VDI onboarding script for non-persistent device. Once we select this option, here we will get an option to download the onboarding package. So we need to click this. So this will download a script which will help us to onboard our virtual desktop to Microsoft Defender. Now we have downloaded the script. So we will copy this script to our either master image or to domain controller, where we will create a group policy. That group policy will deploy this script across all the VMs. I will copy this script and I will paste it inside my domain controller. So I'm going to unzip this folder. So now we need these two files in order to create a group policy. So I'm going to copy these two files, and I'm going to create a shared folder over here. I'm going to give the name for the shared folder as Defender Onboard, and inside this I'm going to paste these two files. Let's make this folder as a shared. So I'm going to the properties, and I'm going to click share, and I'm going to give permission to everyone read and write. So in practical scenario, so you can keep this file in a shared folder. So since this is a demo, I'm going to keep it in my domain controller itself. Now I'm going to launch Active Directory users and computers, and I'm going to create a new OU. So I'm going to give a name as Defender AVD. Inside this OU, we are going to create all our VDI or AVD computer objects. So now I will open group policy wizard, and I will create a group policy, and then we will bind that group policy to the OU which we just created. So this is our OU which we just created, and I'm going to create a GPO, and I'm going to name it as Defender AVD on board. Let's edit this policy, and I'm going to computer configuration, preference, then control panel setting. Under that, I'm going to select scheduled task. So basically we are going to create a scheduled task. So this task will run the script. So while running the script, it will onboard the VDI or virtual machine. So here we need to click new, and then we need to select immediate task, at least Windows 7. Here I'm going to give a name as Defender Onboard, and then under when running the task, use the following user account. So I'm going to use anti authority system. So I will add the same details over here. So I have entered the details, and then we need to select run with the highest privilege. So we need to select run whether user is logged in or not. This is very important because if the user is not logged in, then also the script will run using this scheduled task. And also under configured for, we need to select Windows 7 or Windows Server 2008 R2. And then under actions, so we need to click on new, and here we need to select action as start a program. So then program and script, so we need to give the details of our PowerShell. So we need to click on browse, and here we need to search for PowerShell. So basically we are going to mention the script should be executed through PowerShell. So that is the reason we are pointing the program to PowerShell. And under arguments, so we need to put some arguments. So I have it in my notepad. So this is the argument which we need to enter over there. So here, as we earlier mentioned, we have created a shared folder which is named as Defender. So we need to copy this path, and then if we go here, we need to replace this with the path which we have created. And then we can copy this entire line. Then we can enter the same detail in our scheduled task. So I'm going to paste it over here. So let's verify once again. It is execution policy bypass and command, and then followed by the path of our script. Click OK. So under condition, no need to select anything. We can keep it as it is. And under setting, we can verify if any setting is required. We can select. So here I'm going to select if the task fails, restart at every 1 minute. So this is I'm going to select, because if due to some reason if the task getting failed, then it should repeat, because that will help us to onboard the VM. And then we can select common, and here no need to select anything, we can leave as it is, and then we can click on apply and click on OK. So now we have created a Defender scheduled task which will help us to run the script to onboard the VDI. So whenever any VDI gets created, so this group policy will apply and it will create a scheduled task. So scheduled task will run at startup and it will onboard the device. We will create Azure Virtual Desktop, and we will add those VMs in a OU which we created for the Defender, and we will see the seamless onboarding of our Azure Virtual Desktops. So I'm here in the Azure Virtual Desktop Blade. So under host pool, I'm going to add two VMs. I'm going to the total machine blade. Here we don't have any machine at this moment, so I'm going to add two virtual machines. I'll keep all the settings as it is, and under new virtual machines I'm going to mention the details. I'm going to give the naming prefix as MDEAVD, which stands for Microsoft Defender Endpoint for Azure Virtual Desktop. And under VM location, I'm going to select Central US. I'm not going to choose any infrastructure availability at this moment. I'm going to give the number of VMs to OS disk. I will keep standard HDD since this is a demo, so I'm keeping only HDD. In production environment, you can keep premium disks. So under network, I'm going to select my VNet and the subnet as well. So I'm not going to select any NSG because I already have a NSG attached to my subnet. So here domain active directory, and here I'm going to give the details of my domain, which is vdibus.site, and specify domain or unit. We need to click yes, and the domain name is vdibus.site, and the organization path. This is very important. Here we need to give the OU path which we created for the defender. So this is my OU path. So all my VMs which created in this wizard will be under defender-avd OU. So this OU by default have the group policy which we created in the earlier step for the onboarding. Here I am going to give the local admin credential. So I'm going to click on review and create. So the validation is passed. Now we can click on create. So this will take another 5 to 10 minutes to create the virtual machines. And once it is created, the virtual machines, we can check the Defender portal for the onboarding. The deployment has been completed. So let's go to the resource and we will see our virtual machines. So here we have two virtual machines. One is MDE AVD0 and another one is MDE AVD-1. Both are in healthy status. So let's go back to our Microsoft Defender portal. So this is my Microsoft Defender portal over here. So I'm going to Asset tab. So under Assets, I'm going to click on Devices. So as you can see, we have total 6 devices onboarded. If you see MD AVD-1 and MD-AVD0, this is our Azure Virtual Desktop Session Host we just created, and this is successfully onboarded to Microsoft Defender, and it is reporting as active. So this is how we are going to onboard our Azure Virtual Desktop or Citrix Virtual Desktops to Microsoft Defender using group policies. Let's go back to our session host and we will verify the settings from that as well. So if you go to settings, under settings, if you go to endpoints, we have a script to verify the reporting status. So if we head over to onboarding, we will have one script which is PowerShell script. So we will copy this and we will log into one of the session hosts now. I have logged into one of the session host which is MD-AVD-0. So from this command prompt, I am going to execute the script which was there in the Defender portal to verify the connectivity or the status of Defender onboarding. Here is the script. If the device is onboarded successfully, then it will close automatically, or else it will throw some error. So I'm going to execute now. So as you can see, it disappeared. So it means Defender onboarding has been completed successfully. So we can also verify from the event logs. So we need to go to the Windows events. So under application and services log, we need to select Microsoft, and under Microsoft we need to select Windows, and here we need to select census. So under sense, if we select operation logs, so we can see our event ID which is 11, so which shows that onboarding of Windows Defender ATP completed. So it means this device has been successfully onboarded to Microsoft Defender. So this is how we can check from the Windows OS level as well. So here in the Defender portal, under assets devices, we can see the device inventory. So it will list down all the onboarded VMs or machines to the Defender. If you go to the vulnerability management blade, so you will find an option called dashboard. So this dashboard, it will give you a high level overview of the vulnerability management of your infrastructure. So here you can see the exposure score. So this is nothing but how your organization is exposed to the vulnerabilities or threats. And then we have some security recommendations. If you scroll down, you will have a overview about the certificates and then the device score based on application, operating system, network, etc. And then you will have a events. So these are the top events it will list over here. And then we have the vulnerability softwares. For example, we have a Windows 10 on which we have 105 vulnerabilities, and then we have Windows Defender, and and then we have a Chromium Edge browser on which we have a 6 weakness, etc. And then top exposed device. So these are the virtual machines on which we have these many vulnerabilities and these many security recommendations, etc. And then we have our recommendations. So these are the set of recommendations which is provided by the Microsoft Defender to implement in our organization or in our infrastructure. For example, update Microsoft Windows 10. So it is basically recommending to update the version of the Windows 10 to the latest version to mitigate 105 known vulnerabilities. So similarly, we have multiple other recommendation. For example, block all Office application from creating a child process. So these are the recommendations. So accordingly, you can assess and you can implement so that you can reduce the risk of exposing your devices to the vulnerabilities. And then we have remediation. So if you created any remediation task, it will display over here. As of now, I don't have anything. So let's go to the next option, which is inventories. So inventories, it will list down all the applications which is installed on your infrastructure. So if you can see here, we have a Windows 10 and Windows Defender, Edge, Office, OneDrive, OpenSSL, and then we have a Teams machine-wide installer, and accordingly it will tell you the OS platform, vendor, and weakness or vulnerabilities, exposed device, how many devices it got installed, etc. And then we have a weakness. So this is a very important blade. So weakness are nothing but a vulnerabilities. So here we will see all the vulnerabilities in our onboarded devices or in our organizations. So here you can see these are the vulnerabilities which is related to Windows 10. So if you scroll down, you will see different vulnerabilities. For example, here we have vulnerabilities which is related to Windows Defender, and similarly we have vulnerabilities which is related to Microsoft Edge or Chrome, etc., etc. So if you wanted to know what are the devices which is impacted with this vulnerability, so first you need to click the vulnerabilities and then you can go to the exposed device. So it will list down on all these devices we have this particular vulnerabilities which is related to Windows 10. So if you wanted to know how to mitigate this vulnerability, you can go to the related security recommendations. So it will tell you update Microsoft Windows 10. So if you update this particular Windows 10 virtual machines or physical machine, then this vulnerability will get mitigated. So this is how you can onboard your virtual machines to Microsoft Defender, and you can assess the vulnerability and you can investigate the vulnerabilities on the onboarded devices, and you can mitigate accordingly as per the recommendation provided by the Microsoft Defender. I hope you find this video useful. Thank you for watching.